Hey Shorty, thanks for popping by. Just a quick reminder to please check out our new official subreddit, r/Mr. Ripper. We have some wonderful topics and threads for you to share your stories in. As always, if your story is on topic with this video, feel free to post it in the comments. Also, we got a live stream live reading party going on Friday, June 26th at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. GMT. That's all, boo. Let's yeet this yeast. What's the smartest thing you've ever seen someone do during a D&D campaign? Part 2.
To be fair.
To be fair, it's my first time running a campaign and all of our first time playing. So if everything isn't according to the rules, let's call it homebrew. Haha, LOL. Finger guns. I put together a side dungeon for Halloween to help my players, my fiance, sister, and her boyfriend accomplish a small step towards the end game. It was some of my best work. A necromantic cult's lair containing a relic they needed, laid out in perfect detail with loot and NPCs and traps and puzzles, all handmade. They decided on pretending to want to join the cult to obtain it and went through a few tests. They had to fight off zombies, resurrect a few corpses, which they later recruited. Wouldn't have been a problem if it wasn't an orc, a little boy, and a dog that I now had to voice. And finally, hold council with the leader of the cult, a woman with half of a face named Sarah. My sister's boyfriend is playing a human wizard named Mayor. Mayor's school is illusion, and his favorite spell by far is Unseen Servant. He tends to burn his spell slots on it pretty often. He's very clever with it. However, I didn't realize how clever until Sarah got to monologuing. The cult, ad mortem, had a goal of immortality without lichdom. Though it was producing some awful side effects, they were kept alive no matter how mangled their bodies were. They were practicing removing souls and using the hollow vessels for new housing, using the relic they had, a weapon that could rip the soul from a target. This relic happened to be sitting beside Sarah on a pedestal. The relic was incredibly powerful, and the thrall could drive a user insane. Sarah explained the heroes would have to use the relic to rip the soul out of their revived corpses, the ones they had just befriended, without succumbing, with the promise they would be shelled for use later if they failed. She went on a rant about their goals and such, i.e., I got carried away in setting the atmosphere when Mayor leans over to Alana, my sister, an elf druid, and whispers something. My sister beams. Oh no. Out of character, Shane turns to me and asks with a shit-eating grin, "How long does Unseen Servant last?" Dread creeps up my spine as I reply, "An hour." He then informs me that Mayor discreetly orders his servant to take the relic while Sarah is monologuing. I roll for perception quickly, embarrassed I hadn't thought of that, and see the number that brings every player to tears. A big fat fucking 1 staring up at me. Mayor's servant retrieves the relic and hands it to Marley, the half-elf NPC they're traveling with, who is the daughter of the wizards who made the relic, and the only one who can withstand the thrall, who proceeds to rip Sarah's soul from her body a split second after she realizes what's happened. Cue Mayor's snappy,
Hey, Sarah, you're boring me to death.
Cue Geo, my fiance's shard-mind fighter, dabbing enthusiastically. Alana taught him to dab. Cue me, swigging some more Jack and Coke as I recall how long it took me to make Sarah's character sheet for this epic battle we were supposed to have. Cue me, swigging some more stout because this is turning into a bit of a shit show. Haha, sick burn. They proceeded to burn down the lair and draw a dick on the front door in blood. I'm looking at the useless character sheet now as I realize that's what I get for monologuing. This was when I was DMing. So I was running a campaign where my players were doing anything they wanted. And one of my players was a kobold sorcerer monk, and he weighed 25 pounds. So during the campaign, he came across an artifact called the Tooth of Tiamat, which was a wand that could be used as a +3 dagger, and so on. That's not important. What is important is that since he got the artifact, and I rolled for random minor detrimental properties on the artifact chart, I got a 43, and that reduces your weight by 1d4 times 5 pounds. Remember, he weighed 25 pounds. And I rolled a 4, which meant he now weighed 5 pounds. He weighed less than the manacles he had in his backpack, and he weighed the same as his backpack. Now remember, he was a sorcerer. He had the mage hand cantrip, as everyone should, and the weight maximum of the spell is 10 pounds, and he weighed 5 pounds, so he continuously cast mage hand on himself, allowing him to fly. Holy shit. Okay, hold on. This alone surprised me, but that's not it. Later in the campaign, they were fighting Death God, and the kobold had cast Fireball on the god the previous turn, and so the Death God decided he wanted to teach him a lesson by disfiguring him. So I rolled on a chart I made. I got the effect of the creature shrinks, becoming thin and bony and halving its weight. So the kobold, who originally weighed 25 pounds, already the lightest one in the party, then became 5 pounds from the artifact, and so finally he became 2.5 pounds, quick maths. But this is the amazing part. He broke off his attunement with the artifact after they banished the Death God, and I asked him why, and he said he felt like this was too broken, but I knew he wasn't the character who would do this. He shares my love of breaking the game. So he was back at 12.5 pounds. Next session, he asks if he can still attune to the artifact to gain the same detrimental property as before, and I say yes. So he attunes again. Now, when he asked that question, I could feel my eyes open wide. I saw what he was doing. He broke it. He broke all the rules, at least laws of physics. Well, so the curse of the Death God was permanent. And so when he broke off the attunement to the Tooth of Tiamat, he returned to half of 25 pounds, which is 12.5 pounds. So when he attuned again and lost 20 pounds in weight, he now weighed negative 7.5 pounds. He weighed negative pounds. So he floats now. If he wants to walk like normal, he'll just put on his backpack with Mage Hand and fall to the ground. He walks on ceilings. And if he wants to, he can hold a combination of gear equal to 7.5 pounds. So he then overall weighs 0 pounds and just floats. Not attracted to or repelled by gravity at all. He is negative mass now and can go wherever he wants because he can fly. He's planning on building an upside down castle on an earth moat so no one can raid it. Also, there is no way he can take fall damage or float out of the atmosphere because he has Mage Hand and can fly anywhere. This is definitely the most broken combo in D&D and the smartest thing I've ever seen anyone do. Yeah, that is the smartest shit I've ever seen anyone do. That's amazing. Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. Fucking kudos. That might have been one of the best ones I've seen. I'm nominating it for the smartest person in the video, I would say. Probably gonna win it. We shall see. But this is the smartest topic after all. So pretty much everybody, at least intuitively, understands that bards are great in urban environments, even if some players are kind of at a loss for exactly how to express that during gameplay. Some people are more natural fits for that kind of character class than others. I hadn't really considered how amazing a well-played cleric could be in that same role until one of my players showed me. In fact, I was so impressed that I used that character as a template for Father Patricolo McKenney, who was a second tier character in the Candlebrae novels I wrote. A step down from the main characters who served in a strong supporting role. The party rolled into a town they'd never been to before. Cleric talks to the gate guard. I think it started when I mentioned that he seemed fidgety and distracted as he waved them through the gates. Full stop. Deep conversation. The guard was impatient at first and not all that willing to talk about it. And as the DM, this was a cardboard cutout character that I had minimal notes on, so was making all this up on the fly. I invented that he had a sick child at home and was anxious to get off duty so he could go check in. Cleric asked to speak with the captain of the watch, paid to get the guard off duty early. Party followed him home and the cleric healed his kid. Instant friend in the watch. Shameless rule lawyering to save the party. Thankfully, it took very little time. Ravenloft campaign. I'm playing a druid, goddamn right you are. We entered a room and saw a pile of bones at a corner. Typically of Ravenloft, the bones formed a bone golem. Bone golems have a magical laugh, which makes you to save versus death twice. Lose both rolls and you die. Lose one roll and you become a bit mad. It's bad because it is sound-based and affects the entire party. I had a silence spell ready. Of course, I lost the initiative. The bone golem opened up with a laugh, except I asked the DM,
"Does it say it always opens with a laugh?"
The answer was no. The monster manual wrote, the golem may laugh. The DM gave it a 50-50 chance and rolled. We lucked out. The golem did a physical attack on round 1. I cast the silence spell afterwards. Round 2. The golem proceeds to another physical attack, except I say to the DM,
"Does it really know it's under a silence spell?"
The DM gave me an ugly look, but considered. He made the 50-50 roll again. The golem then laughed in silence. There's an art to antagonizing DMs. Yep, as a druid. Especially as a druid. I was approaching close to Rock's Fall. I played nice for a number of sessions afterwards. From his new friend, learned all the power players in town and a fair bit about their motivations. Went to the church and asked if they'd object to him ministering to the sick. Before they could even think to raise any objection, he offered to pay a generous tithe to the church. Instant respect from the clergy. Went to the inn and rented several rooms. Asked if the proprietor minded if he spent some time ministering to the sick and infirm. Innkeeper balked at that in the tavern, but was willing to rent out some stable space for that purpose. Sold. In about 10 minutes of game time, the cleric had set himself up in the stable with a long line of eager peasants needing his care, made several powerful friends in town, and gave the rest of the party cover to move about freely. After that, he contented himself with the off-screen work of tending to the sick, while the rest of the party did their thing in town, knowing that if they got in trouble, he'd be easy to find. Simply superb. Had it gone on much longer, I would have started to suspect that he was trying to steal the spotlight, but he wasn't. He did the minimum necessary to set the conditions in town to massively favor the party, and then he was happy to fade into the background and let everybody else shine. I was beyond impressed. This particular game was a standard dungeon crawl adventure which run at a convention. The GM was a bit of a local celebrity with a reputation for running really exciting adventures, so a lot of people signed up for his game expecting something quite special. This particular GM allowed established characters, e.g. ones which had been played in his games before, to be used by players, but anyone new to him, e.g. players like me, had to roll up a random first level character. This meant that our group of a dozen players was composed of about half of fairly butch 9 to 12th level characters and half brand new first level characters. Problem was, this GM's dungeon was pretty much geared to the higher level characters being played by his buddies. As the game wore on, it became evident that all us noobs were basically relegated to the role of porters. It was our job to carry the impressive number of bags, chests of loot that the higher level players were hoovering up in what was obviously a Monty Hall style dungeon. In fact, things were so bad that none of us noobs were even allowed to fight because the experienced players didn't want to risk any of us kill stealing their XP. If you were one of the noobs, this quickly became one of the most boring RPG sessions you'd ever played in. But then, in the midst of what was the largest/toughest battle the party had been involved in so far, one of my fellow noob players came up with a brilliant idea. While the high-level players were all caught up in a life or death struggle with whatever boss monster they were fighting, can't recall the details, this session was played about 30 years ago, we noobs would collectively just take off running in the direction we'd come, carrying all that loot with us. So we handed the GM a note saying we were all sneaking off, back around the corner, then head for the dungeon entrance as fast as we could run. The GM required us to make stealth rolls. Because all the high-level types were all distracted, focused on their battle, we were able to get away without any of them noticing. It took them probably another 4 to 5 melee rounds to kill the enemy creature, but by that point we were gone. Unfortunately, the Porter Party noob group, Porter Party, unreal, never made it out of the dungeon. We were all killed in a random encounter with a pack of fire-breathing hellhounds. I say random because one of our group noticed that the GM was deliberately fudging our encounter rolls. Seems he didn't want his friends to be upset that he'd let us all get away with their loot. But we didn't care, since for us noobs, our characters were all essentially throwaway characters anyway. What made this so memorable was that we'd stuck it to the more experienced players who'd been treating us so badly, and even though they were able to follow our tracks and reclaim much of their treasure, a lot of it, in particular, some very powerful magical spellbooks, was burned/destroyed in our fight with the fire-breathing hellhounds. It was a good, even great, way to die. As an interesting epilogue to this tale, this incident apparently became somewhat legendary in this particular GM's circle of friends, becoming known as the Great Porter's Rebellion. Thereafter, whenever this group was playing with minor level players, they always kept one of their number detailed to stay out of the main combat and remain with and watch over the noobs to prevent a repeat of the incident. Seems it never occurred to them to simply let the noobs join in the fun so they wouldn't feel like a bunch of disgruntled minimum wage service clerks. Hello, you beautiful spirit trapped in ham. Thank you for using your meat body to attune your spark of consciousness in our direction sufficient to reach the end of the video. I hope it was worth the wait. We're so happy to have you here with us. I hope you got some great ideas to take home and ruminate on in your own D&D campaigns. I know I'm always seeing new stuff I want to try in these stories. The world is a trash fire and everything is topsy-turvy, and in light of everything plaguing this chapter of our incarnations, it is important to take solace in the knowledge that we are all in this together as one human family, and the sooner more of our loved ones figure that juicy bit of truth out, the sooner we can reach new heights in understanding, the preservation of life, and the development of unconditional love. Things always get worse before they get better, but things get better. The universe loves us and wants us to be happy, and we will be happy someday. One thing that makes me happy is really good coffee. I know a place where you can find some. If you fuck with what you're hearing today, check out our D&D friends over at Adventurers Coffee Company and use our coupon code Mr. Ripper for a nice little discount, a nice little bag of nice little coffee beans. Stuff is delicious and potent as all hell. Smells great too. Pinky swear. If you're new here, say hello in the comments. If you're back for more, tell me what you want. What you really, really want. Also, stream happening. We are not doing a D&D stream just yet, still getting that sorted, but in fact, better. We are getting together, and by we, I mean myself, Rip Daddy, and Brian, and we're going to read some threads live on stream and have a nice little get-together with all you little sweeties out there. Friday, June 26th, 2 p.m. PST, 5 p.m. EST, 9 p.m. GMT. Be there or miss it and see it on the channel. It's all good, baby. You do you. Feel free to check out our Discord if you want to know what a trash fire looks like. And check out our new subreddit where you can regale us all with your own D&D tales, and perhaps your stories will be chosen soon. Thanks again for watching. I love you so much. Please sub for Nat 20s, and we'll see you next time.